Welcome to the Football Garbage Time NFL podcast. My name is Hakun Wong, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Football Garbage Time. And with me is my co-host. It's Darrin Midgett. Hey, Darrin. How you doing, buddy?
I always get it mixed up. Is it right or left?
I
always get it
you
mixed
can
up.
go both ways. Honestly, the fact of the way, I mean, like you might be, if you're reversed, I'm on Zoom. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll take both, man. I'll take both.
But I'm feeling
Man,
good, man. How you been, man?
All right, too good. I mean, like we're at the NFL Combine, man. So like things are actually happening. And quite frankly, I look around at all the other sports that are coming on, and I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. So as far as basketball is concerned, it's basically the end of days for me, right? I mean, we're basically, I think it's like we try to go on a fire sale, but it was the crappiest fire sale ever. And we just put ourselves in a position to like kind of hover there and be bad, but not terrible. So I don't know. What about you? You got anything else you're watching? I'm excited about the Combine because at least there's something here that I can build on. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again about the Bears, as you can see, with Ben Johnson coming in as our new coach. What about you?
I love that, man. Two things, man. I think that might pay off in the long run with your Bulls. Maybe, who knows? But with that Ben Johnson pickup, I think that works out for two players. Caleb Williams, of course, and DJ Moore.
Of course.
I think DJ Moore, his numbers, his targets and things are going to be better. They're going to I guess you say produce better now that you have a Ben Johnson at our offensive coordinator or calling the play, so to speak, as head coach. But I like that for them too. But speaking of basketball, I have been watching my Pistons, man. I'm a Detroit Pistons fan, even though I'm from North Carolina.
Oh, man. Pistons.
I became a Pistons fan as a youth because I was just so enamored with the Bad Boys whole thing because my parents, like when I say my parents, like my mom, my dad, like my elders, everybody loved the Lakers. And I'm like, what is so good about these Lakers? And when they played the Pistons, it was always a good game. So long story short, I became a Pistons to default because I was, I went with a contrarian side. But they don't like us. They don't like a 7-8 game heater, man. And last year they were at the bottom of the barrel, and they caught fire with this new team and the new coach JB Bickerstaff, man. So I've been watching the basketball a little bit because of the Pistons, but like you said, with the Combine coming up, man, you just can't help but get locked back into what the NFL is about to bring.
Yeah, but at least your Pistons, I mean, they're basically, they have a pretty good chance of making the postseason without any concerns right now. I mean, they're sitting. I mean, like if you look at where your team is and where my team is, it's not even close. You're 6th in the Eastern Conference. We're like barely qualified as an NBA team right now. We win games by like 50, but then lose by 50 the next day. It's a disaster, man. It's an absolute disaster. Josh Giddey is our best player. That doesn't make any sense. I'm still
stuck on the point of being qualified as an NBA team. I'm still stuck on that.
Well, that's the thing. Like if there was relegation like there was in like Premier League soccer, like I have a feeling that we might get relegated at some point and become a G League team. I just don't think there's no focus there. Anyway, we're not an NBA podcast. We'll do that some other day. We'll go NBA garbage time next time and do that. Today, we're going to talk about the NFL Combine, as we said. And, of course, the first day was today with defensive tackles and edge rushers and linebackers going and getting tested. So we got some talking to do about that. And then we got our two non-quarterback offensive players that we're watching and our two defensive players that we're watching over the weekend because, man, there is a lot of guys that can do a lot of good in terms of their positioning going into the NFL draft. And there's some deep, deep positioning there. So let's get this thing rolling. Yeah, that was totally not the cued song that I intended to go right there, Darrin. So I'm just going to own up to the fact that I screwed that up. All right, everybody.
I was checking across the room to make sure. I was checking to make sure I didn't start a fire over on the other end of the room. I was making sure I didn't set anything off.
Yeah. So that was I totally whiffed on that one. That's okay. That's part of the fun. Just totally whiffing on it. Let's just go ahead and get started and talk about day one of the NFL Combine. So some big names kind of popping up right now in terms of current results. Now, everything's not run yet. There've been a handful of defensive linemen that have actually completed some of the skills, not quite all the skills. Most of the linebackers haven't gone yet, but they're getting running, and there's some eye-popping numbers coming off the page. First of all, Ty Robinson running a 4.83 40-yard dash, actually, at least unofficially. His top speed at 20.64 miles per hour. At 10 yards, it was already at almost 17 miles per hour, and that is the fourth fastest mark of any defensive lineman in the last 3 years. And also CJ West at 316 pounds, 4.95 40-yard dash, reaching a top speed of 20.25 miles per hour. I mean, that is only the I think he's the only one to run a sub 5.0 40 at the combine since 2003. I know we're talking about this pre-show, but that's freaking fast for a guy who's 316 pounds, isn't it? I mean, that's unbelievable.
Man, if he was in the 7th round at the beginning of this draft class, he's probably jumped up to the 4th round by now with those numbers alone.
Totally agree. I mean, it's really unbelievable, and it's kind of interesting. And we talked about this before as well. I think my car weighs maybe about 400 pounds. So like I can only imagine what a 20 mile per hour car is. And Darrin, you were saying, listen, you know, if you were kind of running, and I know you can only get up to about 19 miles per hour, not quite 20. Hey, listen, the NFL is special, so close, man, real close.
Hey, if I work on my speed and agility, I might get to 19.6.
Yeah, okay. You definitely would have the fastest. You definitely have the fastest 40-yard speed of anybody on this podcast. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, my friend. But hey, that's why we're talking football and we're not playing football. That's fine. It's totally cool. All right, let's talk about and of course, I think you pointed out that there was some really eye-popping 40-yard dash numbers that were kind of popping up there as well. So it's not just the defensive tackles that are going. There's a number of others that are actually going right now. And I believe that we have some numbers here for James Pierce, 4.47. Wow, that's kind of speedy right there. And he's already exceeded 10 feet on his broad jump as well. So that's looking pretty good for James Pierce out of Tennessee. And I know you were kind of watching him a little bit in season as well.
Yeah, man. That guy and Landon Jackson, man, those two guys, when you're looking at defensive edge, those two guys are going to jump off they're going to go up draft boards and they're going to jump off the line of scrimmage. So James Pierce Jr., I can see him going somewhere in I hope not, as a Commanders fan being at 29, I hope that he can last to the 20s, but I doubt it with the numbers he's doing and the tape he's put out. But then you have Shamar Stewart out of South Carolina. That guy is really jumping up draft boards with the numbers that he's doing. I don't have his official 40, but he was somewhere in the 4.6 range, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So talking about jumping off the page, Landon Jackson had a 40.5-inch vertical. He basically leads everybody today on the vertical, and he did have a 4.68 40-yard dash at 10 yards, 1.65. I mean, and he cleared 10 feet and 9 inches on the broad jump. I mean, Landon Jackson is killing it. He's killing the combine right now. So there's a lot here.
He wants to be a lottery pick. That guy wants to be a lottery pick.
Oh yeah. And if you do if you're looking at the next gen stats athleticism score right now, he is actually at the very top with an 86, the highest rated person at the combine so far. Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas. CJ West, who we talked about, is actually coming in also an 86. And Javari Ritzy from North Carolina coming in at 86. So there's a couple here that are popping out the page. Ty Robinson coming at 85. So these are some names here that were actually on our list, but actually didn't make that top of the list for me. And now they're making me pay attention. So there's looking like some action going on here. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, defensive tackle of Georgia, also getting an 85. He had a 4.86 40-yard dash. And also cleared 10 feet on his and 4 inches on his broad jump. So this is some exciting stuff that's coming here with regard to each of these combine prospects. So let's talk about the prospects that you have your eyes on here, Darrin. I know you have a couple that you're keeping a close eye on the offensive side, and a couple on the
Mhm.
defensive side. And I got a couple as well to talk about. Let's start with you. Why don't you give us your
Gotcha.
two prospects on the offensive side and the defensive side? And we're not talking quarterbacks today, everybody, because they get too much love. We don't want anymore. We're not going to talk about quarterbacks anymore. No more Shador Sanders. No more Cam Ward. We're not talking about any of those other guys because everybody's talking about them. So let's talk about the other
Exactly.
guys.
Exactly.
Fire
If I
away.
had if I had if I had to go with a receiver that's going to be a mid-round pick, and then this is all bias, and I'm gonna be honest. I have to preface with what I'm looking at as bias
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I want to I want to see Jaden Daniels continue to accelerate and get better in his career.
Right.
Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. He is
Yeah.
very shifty. He knows how to get. He know how to get open. And I feel like if he puts up the numbers in the combine and crushes his interviews, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to go between like the second and fourth round, early fourth round. I don't see him going too far because he's somebody that can add to a receiver room. He can add to like special teams. So he's not just a one trick pony. So
Right.
Xavier Restrepo is number one. And if I had to continue to go like with non-quarterback, um, as far as like running backs, I was talking to you about him before. Before
Yeah.
the show was Dalen Sampson. Like he
Yep.
he's a he's a thumper, but he has top end speed as well. And when I say thumper, like he can run north and south between the tackles, and he can break tackles. And when if he breaks, he's going to break. He's not one of the guys that's going to get caught every time. And I like
Oh yeah.
him.
His open field activity is insane. He breaks open. It's like
Mhm.
he destroys the second level. It doesn't. No pursuit gets anywhere near him if he gets out in the second level.
Exactly. So those two guys will be my non-quarterback picks that I like just based on bias. But if you didn't have to go to like guys who actually are like ballers and they are getting looks because of they going to the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, Ty Felton out of
Mhm.
Maryland. Ty Felton is somebody
Oh.
that Jim
Hmm.
Nagy, who just got the job as Oklahoma Sooners GM. Jim Nagy
Yep.
loves Ty Felton and I heard Jordan Reed as well of ESPN talk highly of him. And those are two guys that I really, use as my gospel when I follow college football.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I like that a lot. And actually, let's go back though. I want to talk a little bit about their two offensive picks here because I mean Xavier Restrepo is a guy who has a lot of time built into Miami. You know, he obviously he's an institution there essentially now. He has incredibly great dynamic quickness in those short area space. He kind of gives me a little bit of it's possibly a Cooper Cup type vibe. You know, like he's great concentration at the catch point, tough as nails. He's has really good, like I said, lateral agility and quickness. I don't know if he is a guy who's going to go out there and catch the long ball. He's not going to run anything. I mean, I don't think he has the positional versatility to go outside. I think he kind of has to play inside or slot. But I think he is absolutely fantastic, and he would absolutely for someone who wants to run a really fast offense, timing type offense. I can see him being fantastic with Jaden Daniels. I think that would speed things up so fast that defenses couldn't even get in there and pressure him by the time he got the ball out there and had Restrepo finding yards after the catch. So I love that. I think that's really.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's some really and he set a Hurricanes record for single season receptions in 2023 with 85. He was only the sixth player in the program history to record 1,000-yard receiving season in 2024 with Cam Ward, obviously, which I said we were going to talk about, but we got to talk about him because he did throw the ball to Restrepo. You know, he had a great connection with him. So I wouldn't be surprised actually to see someone try to pick up whoever gets Cam Ward to try to think about getting Restrepo as well, because obviously they have a terrific connection already. But let's talk a little bit
Yeah.
about your other pick here, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. I mean, that is a great running back pick right there. Like I said, like you mentioned, and like we just talked about, that second level. I mean, once he gets there, he is goodbye. He is good night. You know, I mean, he's like, and he has such great balance. You know, like people can bump him. If they don't wrap up, he is out of there, and he's a home run hitter. I love that. There's some questions though about him, his size. I mean, he's obviously not the biggest guy, so who knows if that's going to be an issue or not. There's some questions about his ball security. I mean, none of that stuff is actually going to be you're going to be on show at the combine, obviously. But I think when they see just the raw skill set, the ability to accelerate, the speed, the lateral quickness, I think he's gonna open up a lot of eyes out there. So I think that's a fantastic pick there with Sampson.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting. So I was looking this up because I wanted to kind of get a feel for what people are saying. Some people are comparing him to J.K. Dobbins. I actually think he probably could be, and this is no knock on Dobbins. I think he could actually be better than that, honestly. So I think there's some upside there to both of those guys. Let me give you my offensive guys, and then we'll turn around and go the other direction, talk defense for a little bit. But I like Charles Grant, an offensive tackle out of William and Mary. And that's I know going to be one of those picks that's a little bit out there. I know, because it's an offensive tackle from a smaller school. And I know a lot of folks are going to be like, I don't know about that. But I think that he has a lot of potential upside here. He's a two-time FCS All-American in 2023 and 2024. 6'4", around 300 pounds. He has tons of versatility on the offensive line. He can even play center if you need him to. He has a 35-inch arm span. I mean, he actually is, and he's ran previously a 10-yard split at 1.44 seconds. I mean, the guy looks to be everything you want an offensive tackle. It's just a question of can he play at the NFL level. I think he can be a real steal at the draft. So I'm going to have my eyes open to see how he's going to perform at the NFL Combine. I also like Woody Marks. And I think we talked about this pre-show, and this is part of the reason why I love the Dylan Sampson pick as well, is that this running back position is so deep. It's like so ridiculously deep. So there's so much that you can get here. And I think that people are going to not think about what you can get in the later rounds. And I think that Woody Marks is going to be one of those guys who's going to be a steal somewhere. You know, he had 198 carries for USC last year, which for 1,133 yards, rush yards. I mean, he had the 6th most rush attempts last year in the Big Ten and the 4th most rushing yards in the Big Ten. So, he's doing great. I mean, he's definitely a guy who can do a lot of great things. And I think he's kind of flying under the radar because he spent 4 years essentially at Mississippi State before that, doing a lot of great things there. So but not like this. Like his big breakout was definitely last year at USC. So I think there are some people are going to get lucky and pick him up later on in the draft. He can actually make a name for himself in the combine, I think. Any thoughts about those guys, Woody Marks, the running back out of USC, or Charles Grant, defensive tackle out of William and Mary?
Charles Grant is somebody that I can see actually being picked up by one of those like staple organizations, because I feel like he's ready to get on the field and have one of those offensive lineman coaches have him try his hands at somewhere between the middle of that offensive line or whatever, and he might fit.
Yeah.
He might fit. Now, Woody Marks, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know too much about him, but his numbers have always kind of caught my attention, honestly. And I would love to see him like return, like as a returner, to be perfectly honest. Like start off to see if he can get his good as a returner.
Absolutely.
And I think that will help accelerate his career. But Woody Marks is a good name, because I've actually, I've heard Daniel Jeremiah speak on him as well, listening to his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He likes him as well. So I can see him being a guy that goes day 2 that may have a long NFL career.
Yeah, 5.7 yards per carry last year. I mean, like he went way up. I mean, and playing in the Big Ten. So it wasn't like, so he was playing in the SEC for 4 years, and he went to the Big Ten. So, I mean, I think he's seen the competition at a very high level. And I think as a bonus to that, he also managed to get 47 receptions for 321 receiving yards. So he does have a little bit of versatility on that side, 6.8 yards per reception. So, obviously a lot of run on the tires there, because he has, essentially played 4 years, and he played basically full seasons every year. But I mean, that just means to me that he's going to have a large football IQ walking into the NFL with the high level of competition in the SEC and a high level of competition in the Big Ten. I don't know. I feel like he's ready. I feel like he's ready. But I agree. I think that there will be one of those things where the fact that he has versatility to return to do returns as well. He did do that 1 year at Mississippi State. He did do kick returns there, so he does have some versatility there that could help him get onto rosters, regardless of what they have in their running back room already. So let's turn to the defense here. Darrin, tell us, what do you got in defense that you're looking at right now?
Oh man, it's a safety that I know he's right now targeted to go top 10, but
okay,
Eamon out of South Carolina, he's gonna be like Kyle Hamilton coming out of Notre Dame. Somebody may surprise you and pick him in that top 10. So Eamon out of South Carolina. And then the safety out of Notre Dame, I've tried to look up his name because I was looking up other guys too. But I would say the safety out of Notre Dame, just looking at that national championship game, like that guy he is a baller. I know his first name is Xavier.
I think you're talking about Xavier Watts, right? Xavier Watts?
Yes.
You're talking about Xavier Watts. Okay. Yeah. Yes. He's a baller too. Like injuries don't take him off the field.
I mean, the guy is a baller. If he tests well at this combine, he might jump up draft boards too. But that's a guy I'm looking at too, because I only paid attention to him, to be perfectly honest, watching a national championship game, and I was like, who is this guy? Why is he all over the field? And he's definitely one of those guys that stand out. Xavier Watts, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because he started his kind of career as a wide receiver, and it shows as he has real when it comes to identifying routes and breaking in front of routes, because he's seen so many and he just understands, and his ball handling skills are wide receiver-esque, right? I mean, he would be. I mean, I don't want to say he's like, Travis Hunter, because that's like it's like too high up the board. But the fact of the matter is that he's a ball hawk because he has great ball handling skills, being a wide receiver and getting out there. And so that builds into his football IQ, the ability to anticipate route breaks, to get the timing of quarterbacks, and he understands how the ball comes out of their hands, where to be at the right time. He's just explosive athlete that gets him all over the place. And like I said, and like you said as well, he's a baller. Like the injuries don't keep him off the field. I mean, he gets back out there and he is, even 90% of Xavier Watts is more than 100% of most other safeties in terms of, having the ability to get out there and cover the field. So I do really, really like him as well. And Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina, also fantastic. I mean, like, in zone coverage, he is unbelievable. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable. And if he gets there, you're down, right? He is one of the most reliable tacklers in college football. Exactly. I mean, he's well-versed in all areas. I mean, he's great at the nickel. I mean, this is a great prospect here that I think is going to do really, really well in the NFL. So I do love both of those. Those are really fantastic.
Another guy.
Yeah.
I have another guy for you. And
I watched bonus guy.
Because I watched him closely at Florida State, and I didn't think he was going to jump up draft boards as he's going through the Senior Bowl. He's a cornerback.
Okay.
Azariah Thomas. And to be perfectly honest, he's not. I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say he's great at man coverage, but it seems that he's gotten better throughout his time in man coverage. It's like he's starting to understand, how to play better in man. And I like that about him. And he is physical, and he's not the tallest guy, but he plays like a tall guy. Like he's not. Right. I think it's like 5. I think they might have him at like 5'10", 5'11". But he plays like a 6'2" guy.
Yeah. He's It's interesting because I mean, out of Florida State, Azariah Thomas, he's actually one of those guys who's can be misleading. Like if you look at him, you don't think he's going to be as big, as athletic, as take up so much space out there in terms of getting in the way of receiving routes. And I think that you could use that in the NFL. I think that's one of those things where wide receivers will underestimate him when they go out one-on-one with him, and he can absolutely dominate. So I love that. That's a really good one as well. I love that. And we get a bonus coverage. I can't believe we got bonus guys we're looking at the combine. There's so many out there. I got two linebackers that I'm looking at. I got two linebackers I really, really like. I got my eyes on right now. I got Eugene Asante out of Auburn is on my radar, and Kobe King out of Penn State. And I know, it's interesting because you look at the folks that everybody's talking about, and it totally makes sense to me, right? I mean, there's some guys out there that you just can't avoid. One of them is, of course, Abdul Carter out of Penn State, right? Yeah, he is going to be a top talent in the NFL, no doubt about it. But there are other guys on that defense at Penn State that are just out of this world. And I did watch them play Notre Dame when I went to the Orange Bowl, and they were really outstanding. Now, that was a tough game for them. I love the way it ended because I'm a Notre Dame fan. But the fact of the matter is, Kobe King is one of those guys that is going to be amazing. And I think he's not getting as much airtime because of Abdul Carter, right? I think everybody has their attention on him, and he's going to go off the board a little bit later, and he's going to be just as good in terms of, going downhill with urgency, getting up there and just being, in where he causes the biggest amount of problems. He's fantastic. He's one of those great linebackers that can shed blocks. He can make his way to the ball. He's very emphatic. I mean, he's perfect. He's a perfect fit in the NFL. And his brother Kalen King is a former Penn State cornerback that was drafted by the Packers last spring. So there's certainly a lot to like about Kobe King. I think people are going to just not pay attention because of Abdul Carter, but you really should pay attention. This is a great linebacker that can be added, and he can do wonders for himself. He performs well at the combine this year. The other guy, Eugene Asante out of Auburn, is another person that I think that he may jump off boards as well. I mean, he's been in college for a while, right? I mean, he spent 3 years at North Carolina, 3 years at Auburn. So he had an ACC experience. Then he had SEC experience, which I think is fantastic. He had in 2023, he had 86 combined tackles, which is, that's ginormous. In fact, in 2023, he had 53 solo tackles, which is the fourth most in the SEC. I mean, that just jumps off the page to me. SEC competition is a big deal. You have the fourth most solo tackles in SEC, very quietly, kind of being just incredibly effective. So I think Eugene Asante out of Auburn is a guy who he could do wonders for himself as well if he tests well at the combine. Any thoughts about those guys, Eugene Asante or Kobe King?
I remember Asante out of North Carolina. I remember seeing him, and I had a feeling he was one of those guys that was going to go to the portal because you can tell by how he plays. He's not one of those guys that needs to be pigeonholed and being especially defensive lineman in the ACC,
right?
Because not too many defensive linemen in the ACC are like standouts. So you got to go to that, go play that NFL style ball at the SEC, and that makes sense. Now I will say, your other guy,
Kobe King.
You're
not sold on him.
I'm not. Just for me. I want to see it. I want to see it, and not watching Penn State as close, but looking at the numbers and just listening to other experts. He has to show it. Like he definitely he's one of those guys that's going to get invited to camp. He might be one of those undrafted guys. Well, what happened?
Interesting.
But late round guys. He might fall down. But I think he makes a roster if he shows it.
Yeah. I think the combine is going to be a big deal for him. He does have to demonstrate that he has what it takes, and he can do a lot to improve his draft stock if he does well at the combine, perform well there. I mean, and I get what you're saying. I mean, like he's he's had 4 years. He's essentially had 4 years at Penn State. And this is basically his standout year. He really hasn't done much there. Outside of that, he's been okay. But in 2024, I mean, he had the 6th most solo tackles in the Big Ten. I mean, that's a big deal. But he's never come close to that since. He had 53 last year. The year before, 39, 20 before that. Didn't really play in his freshman season. So, I think it's one of those things that you're right. He doesn't have a track record, but I think he has the potential, and a good combine performance can bring him up on draft boards.
Exactly.
All right, man. So that's some great ones that we got all over there. And I think that brings us to the end of the show. We got so much there, and the combine is ahead of us. I am excited about what we have left to see here, because so much can change. So much can change between now and the end of the weekend. So I'm going to be walking at it. So let's hit the air horn on the show. Hey, Darrin, give us your social media so people can follow you.
Yeah. As you can see, you can follow me at Darrin Midgett on all social media platforms except for X, on Twitter, however you call it. It's at @D_Midgett, at DEE_MIDDY.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, definitely go engage Darrin. He's got some strong opinions, and I'm sure he's willing to spar with you when you get on there with him. And you can find me at Facebook. As usual, thank you for listening and wasting time with us. And until next time, enjoy your NFL week. Peace, guys.